A lot of moms tell me, I'm not peeing when I sneeze, so my pelvic floor is fine. But those same moms are the ones who feel like there's something going on down there, that ever since getting pregnant or having a baby, things in their pelvic floor just feel different. In this video, I'm going to explain how prolapse happens and why pelvic floor relaxation is so important in pregnancy and postpartum. If you don't know what prolapse is exactly, or you need a little bit of a refresher, go watch my What is Prolapse video and then come back to this one. So let's get into it. Prolapse, honestly, is a very simple concept because it just comes down to one thing: pressure management. And I have a whole video just on that, but you could think about it like this. If you've ever had a hernia or you know someone who has had a hernia often happens because, for example, someone picks up a heavy box and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, because their intestines poke out from pressure created inside of their body, inside their core system. A prolapse is essentially a hernia of your vagina. It's the same thing because, like, if someone's lifting a box and using poor lifting mechanics, then that pressure goes somewhere it's not supposed to go and it presses out into their stomach, right? So a prolapse is the pressure going somewhere it's not supposed to go and it's pressing into your vagina. You can give yourself a prolapse, or you can make, if you have a prolapse, you can make your prolapse worse with poor habits, poor body mechanics. I'll give you some examples. If you are lifting a heavy pot off the stove and you strain or you hold your breath without thinking about it, you're sending pressure down, and we don't want pressure to go down. If you are baby wearing while pregnant or baby wearing while postpartum, when your body is still healing and you have poor pressure management and mechanics, then you can give yourself a prolapse or make it worse. I'm not saying don't baby wear during pregnancy or postpartum, but I am saying don't do it if you don't know the right way to do it, if you haven't practiced the right way to do that. And I have a whole program just about that. So look at the link in the description and we can talk more about the right way to be safe and careful and mindful of your healing body when you are baby wearing in pregnancy and postpartum. One more example I'll give you. When you are lifting your toddler, those kids are getting heavy, right? And so if you're not doing it in a way that's mindful of your body and managing that pressure well, then you can give yourself a prolapse. You can make it worse. Now, it's not usually just like a one-time thing, like, whoops, just gave myself a prolapse. It tends to be a chronic thing. Prolapse can come from chronic straining, like I said, lifting the heavy stove, baby wearing, picking up your toddler, constipation, and it can come from chronic pressure. Like, for example, if you're pregnant and you have a respiratory illness and you are coughing a lot, that is continuous pressure. Potentially, it's continuous pressure down on your pelvic floor, which can cause or worsen prolapse. Remember, each organ in your pelvis, these are your pelvic organs, remember, each organ corresponds to a different place and obviously a different function, a different hole. So the bladder, the urethra, the uterus, cervix, vagina, and the rectum, anus, right? Each one has their own little thing. And around each of those holes or those sphincters, what do you see? The red stuff is the muscles. And so these muscles around here, around the anus and inside around the rectum, if you have a rectocele prolapse, which has to do with your rectum, that could tell you something about those muscles. Maybe they are just flat out weak, or maybe they are so tight that they are weak. If you have a cystocele prolapse with, I'm pointing to the wrong hole. If you have a cystocele prolapse, which is with your bladder, and remember the bladder connects to the urethra, then these muscles around the urethra or inside around the bladder might be so tight that when they feel that pressure, they can't maintain it anymore. And then bloop, prolapse. Makes sense? And again, it's hard to just like give a simple illustration that makes sense and is also scientifically accurate and anatomically accurate. So bear with me on this, because even me saying, floop, there's a prolapse is not totally accurate, but I'm just trying to illustrate a point, make a point to you. Okay. So the point I'm trying to make in that is that if you have a bladder prolapse, take a look and focus on your front pelvic floor muscles. If you have a rectocele prolapse in the back, focus on the back of your pelvic floor. So like when you're doing Kegels, for example, hopefully you're doing them correctly. Hopefully you have been with me long enough to learn the right way to do Kegels, and it's not just squeeze, squeeze, squeeze forever and ever. Then when you're doing Kegels or pelvic floor work, Really focus on the back of the pelvic floor. Think of, don't actually curl your tailbone under and in. Here's the tailbone again. Don't actually curl that because you're like, oh, I got to get the back of my pelvic floor, but envision it. And that can help activate the back of the pelvic floor. If you have a cystocele prolapse front of the pelvic floor, then I want you to think of nodding your clitoris down every time that you exhale, scoop the pelvic floor down, under, and in, lift. Does that make sense? Listen, this is like a very bird's eye overview. This is not something that you can just like learn and master and fix in 5 minutes, but this is kind of an intro. So I don't completely overwhelm you, but give you something valuable to walk away with from here. But I have an entire program that goes deeper into this and tells you these are the exercises to do if the front of your pelvic floor is weak. This is the way to think about it if the back of your pelvic floor is weak. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed now. Just know that just the fact that you're here watching this video is a great place to start. Now that we have hopefully firmly established that prolapse does not happen because your baby kicked your bladder right out of you, I've heard that said before, and that is not true at all. Now that we know that's not how it happens, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, so what do I do about my prolapse? So from here, go watch my What Do I Do If I Have a Prolapse video, and we will keep learning. We'll go into it from there.